Okay, hope you guys are not so sleepy. And so a little bit intro about ourselves. The Mass Network being the OG Web3 social network project since 2017. And how do I switch to? Oh yeah, that's me. Not important at all. I was born in 1996. So that's an important year you guys should remember. I will explain later. And I jumped into crypto in 2013, 2014, and later on all in Web3 and job hopping from college. And from 2017, we started to build this, a great line of the decentralized social network. But it's not only about decentralized social network. It's actually about more about the independence of cyberspace. About like we now use the term network state. But why there's such thought? Where's this kind of ideology from? What's the first manifesto for this ideology? I think it all dates back to 1996. Not my birthday, but the Declaration of Independence of cyberspace, which is right by the EFF co-founder, John Perry Barlow. He wrote that in February 1996, which is exactly the same month I was born. And I read this first English version when I was like, graduate from kindergarten. And later on, this is translated into Chinese without censorship. Really cool. So John, he wrote that government of the industrialized world, your weary giants of flesh and steel, I came from the cyberspace, the new home of mind. You have no sovereignty where we gather. It's a really interesting declaration. It's not long. I recommend everyone read a little bit, two-minute reading. Since 1996, now is 27 years past, right? That's exactly how I lived on Earth, how long I lived on Earth. So several takeaways from Barrow's declaration. We have a lot of common things to achieve, right? One goal, the goal is to have this, create a civilization of the mind in cyberspace with the goal to achieve free and open internet, which is also part of his declaration. And one battle that I quote from Lincoln, that we are actually in a great civil war, testing whether or any of us can long survive. The question is, we pick and fight our social media battlefield, or from the financial battlefield to the communication battlefield. And the role model are the cypherpunks, right, from Satoshi to Edward Snowden, Aaron Schwartz, and Vitalik, downstairs. So the one mission is, again, quote from Lincoln, let the governance of the people, by the people, and for the people last forever in the cyberspace. And what is the current situation, right? What is the current stage? Because like 1996, John wrote this declaration, and now it's 27 years, and 2 years ago, Balaji published the network state. So what is the current situation? I think we are kind of like in the digital feudalism right now, that all these major internet company are just different kind of like East Indian company, right? So East Indian company, there's so many different East Indian company. Basically every European superpower back in the days have some kind of East Indian company. So they use this kind of like corporate share, which is the most advanced capitalism technology to create a company and issue some stock and trade in the London Stock Exchange. They use this kind of like tools and vehicles to colonize China and India at that time. And then today we have the internet giants, right? Pretty much the Tencent is the Chinese version of East India company. And Meta, Google, whatever, that's the American version of the East Indian company. And what we are colonizing, or we are collectively participating by using Facebook or whatever, we are colonizing the cyberspace, which should be a free land, but we're just helping them colonizing it. And the stage one already passed, which may be Web 1 or Web 1.5, that the mainstream people, especially the VC, the stock exchange, start to realize, oh, actually that's something we can colonize. Just like every East Indian company will issue their stock and get listed on London Stock Exchange 200 years ago. That's pretty fast money. So the Internet 1.0, the Web 1.0 is all these guys realize, oh, that's a new continent we can colonize. Pretty cool. The second stage, we're in the end of the second stage. That is, all these giants, right, no matter from China, US, whatever, they're kind of fighting each other. They say, hey, dude, you're like kind of spy. But we know everyone is kind of spy in here in the game, right? They're all kind of like semi-state controlled, and we are in the final stage of this second stage. And the third stage, we're at the beginning of it, is the resistance, right? If you love the Star Wars, the Jedi, the resistance, whatever, they use the force, whatever, to maybe crypto. That's kind of force to against the companies to create some kind of independence. Balaji call it network state, but you can use whatever term to create some independence and to declare the independence for our new continent, right? And this is my story. Before I jump into crypto, this is my full-time story as a kind of like semi-activist and journalist. I was doing a lot of like free and open source stuff. If you remember the story of 1996, 2019, 2018 in China, I wrote this license and get covered by all the mainstream media. Unfortunately, it's not really a free software license. Richard Stallman didn't agree this is like free software license, but I think it's kind of necessary. The free software movement is kind of stopped there, and we need another level of game, right? Another level of game from cryptography or from some new ideology. So what is another level of game? We need new power structure. So by the Balaji definition, maybe with this other definition, but maybe I think that's a common definition that the new source of the power is from the cryptography, because that's something that is not going to be break by the nation state, no matter how many militaries you have, right? It's not going to be break by your supercomputer. Let's hope the quantum computer not going to break it, but that's the power shift. Then here another quote from Julian Assange, right? I will recommend everyone, if you have read the Balaji network state, please also read the Cyberpunk, because the cost of book will go to obviously go to Julian Assange's family. So he argued that our task is to secure self-determination where we can, to hold back the coming dystopia where we cannot, and if it all else fail, to accelerate its self-destruction. So it's kind of like a combination of accelerationism. Cool idea. And he also argued that the cryptographic is the final defender of our civilization. So the big question, right? So we already have kind of like blockchain, layer 1, Bitcoin, Ethereum, cool things, DeFi, NFT, and why do we stop here? Why not seize the superstructure? And if we want to do a network state besides the Balaji version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do we have like a real world example? Because the revolution are the same, right? They look different, but they all are the same in some way. And I was born in Shanghai, I'm Chinese, so here I'm going to use the example of the Chinese Revolution. Oops. Okay, so by definition of the network state, here's what we are, right? We already have our own currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other like cool crypto altcoins. We try to say, hey, we want to just fulfill the dream of Barry and other cyberpunks or whatever, just create some independence. And then we are kind of like stuck in the battle of if you know the left-wing terms, the battle of the product force and production relations, right? That's a quote from Karl Marx. Probably is wrong, but it's very interesting that AI is regarded as the tools, the super weapon, superpower that can empower human beings. That's increase your efficiency a lot, right? That's why all VC now shift to AI. It seems like that thing's working. The user data, the crypto scene, the cryptography scene is not directly empower your efficiency. Besides maybe, if you're well, besides transfer money or yield farming on DeFi, otherwise you won't able to pay $20 a month and somehow largely boost your efficiency. But it's really important to have more of these together. Otherwise, it'll be terrible if we don't really have the other pillar, right? And then the step we have right now, the stage we are right now, financing, that's the ICO. Every time you want to start a revolution, you definitely have some money. That's very important. So financing the Ethereum through the ICO, finance Bitcoin, And when Ethereum become relatively decentralized, everyone ICO on Ethereum, and maybe now we have like other stuff through the NFT or whatever, layer 2, layer 3. So that's the underlying important lens or important new content we have, right? And then the citizenship is through the DID, right? We all got some kind of like .ens, that's kind of citizenship, and you will have like a super long random number. It's generated by the cryptography, is your public key. That's pretty much the same thing as your passport number. You don't really know how it's generated. And finance, that's the decentralized finance, and pretty much every revolution you have to own the bank. You have to, create a new bank. You don't want to partner with the old bank that is still controlled by the king or queen. Blockchain are the Legos, right? And they just start to build together. So yeah, we pretty much have everything here. So what's the next step, right? We have to learn from the past revolution. If you don't read history of the past revolution happening in the human history, it will likely fail. So who's the first Chinese guy to do ICO, right? Hint, his last name is Sun. Definitely not Justin Sun. So yeah, Dr. Sun Yat-sen is a very interesting figure. He created the first Chinese modern political party. It changed many names from the Chinese legend to Xinzhonghui, Tongmenhui, then become the eventually KMT. But he also lived a very interesting life. He's born in Guangzhou and then get educated in Hong Kong. And then he moved with his family, rich family in Hawaii, which that time was not part of US. That time, Hawaii is like Singapore. It's close to the superpower, but it's not that close, right? And his big brother, his cousin is super rich. And in order to help his little brother idea of revolution, he said, dude, I'm gonna sell 3,000 cows for you, which indicate they have like huge land and farms. So yeah, he sold all these things, and obviously the first revolution failed. I mean, for people who want to do startups, usually your first coin is not going to work, okay? And obviously his first revolution failed, and his family definitely have not have another 3,000 car to sell, right? So what he did like 11 ICO, 10 to 11 ICO. So he went to Chinatown. Again, Chinatown is the first kind of like global DAO. Just somehow people gather. I don't know why, but they just have the treasury. And treasury is not in a bank account. Usually it's people gather together. You find the old dude in the Chinatown. That's the Kung Fu master going to have the treasury. And Dr. Sun Yat-sen, he traveled all across the road when the China was kind of ruled by the Qing dynasty or the emperors, whatever. And he traveled all across the Chinatown and started to do ICO. So he said, hey, dude, this is my Chinese Revolution coin. If you buy enough Chinese Revolution coin, maybe we're gonna win the revolution, and your kids maybe become the minister somehow. But like no written promise. It's like theft. Very interesting. It's not an investment vehicle. And another thing to remember is like Dr. Sun, his first revolution attempt is 1895, and the last one is 1911, which bring the Chinese to a modern kind of democracy. Somehow we lost it right now. So through the 16 years of ICO, 11 ICO, there's no intervention from the government. The main reason is the SEC didn't exist that time. The SEC exists after 1973, right? The Security Act 1963. Then let's say the Gary Gensler time traveled back to find Dr. Sun and knock SEC. And Dr. Sun opened the door and say, oh, okay, Gary, what's your business? And Gary said, oh, you're issuing security, unregistered security. 11th time, you're in big trouble, right? And so that's kind of luck that SEC didn't exist that time. So that's also the importance that you have to use the most advanced technology to ahead of the regulators, ahead of the superpower, superstructures regulators. So the super advanced technology at that time is the Telegram, and not the app we are using, the real Telegram, and the printer. So every time he went to a Chinatown, he bought a printer and just started to print the Chinese Revolution coin, and then he signed it. Well, not the cryptography sign, but use his like hand and pen to sign it, right? Say Sun Wen, Dr. Sun, whatever, and they start to sell $5 each for his coin. So that's pretty much the thing, like the DAO, right? Like we have signature, we have the super advanced technology to print coins, way more faster than Dr. Sun that time. We can print like 100 shitcoin in 1 second, maybe not 1 second, 1 block time. And that's kind of like the lesson you need to learn. And then, okay, then he realized the coins are only for the rich people, right? You have to find the kung fu master in every Chinatown to give them the treasury money. You need some like general middle class people to support you. So that's why there's NFT. So the Mingbao is the first NFT in the Chinese history. Again, in 86 sometime. So he started this kind of like a newspaper and started to write stories that how the Chinese try to punish him in London, whatever, and they write some like interesting story. People start to buy it, super cheap. Not like the cyber monkey we have, not like punk today. It's super cheap. Everyone can buy it. They got the translation for many language. So if you like want to know what's happening in China, what's happening in the revolution, oh yeah, buy it, super cheap. And that become kind of an NFT, right? And also because you buy it, you have to somehow, if you're like middle class, you have somehow leave your address so they can mail it to you. This becomes some kind of DID. So oh yeah, these kind of London people really care about the democracy, whatever. So yeah, cool. He used the NFT and DID that time. So that's what we're doing, right? We have in the mass network family, we have the mass extension is on top of Twitter. We have the DID. We actually become the largest maintainer for Mastodon instance. If you heard of Mastodon, we are the long-term supporter for the Fediverse, and we have the all-in-one app, just like the newspaper. So then the big picture is like it's not enough, right? It's not enough. You have to utilize the money we raised to deploy it systematically in some way. So in the case of Dr. Sun, he claimed he wanted to build like 10,000 miles of railway in China, which that time is like twice the railway of US at that time. It's crazy. But then he able to raise more money and deploy more money. So he got LPs, right? And the LPs like the International Merchant Bank. So we got LPs from our Bonfile Union fund that we start to systematically deploy in the decentralized social network revolution, right? We have become like a small investor of like RSS Freelance, CyberConnect. That's very important. You have to think about the big picture, not fight alone, right? Not fight alone. You're fighting those big East Indian companies. You don't fight alone. And the next thing is the ending is like I believe we will kind of create the civilization of the mind in cyberspace. Again, this is quote from John. Now may it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have made before. So yeah, that's my Twitter and my email. If you're interested, contact me, and also free to catch me after the speech. So everyone have their own hometown. Their hometown have their own story of revolution. You're probably gonna find the same, revolution story because all the modern revolution we have is based on the revolution leader issue some coins and sell to other people believe it. It's a very interesting story. And I believe that NFT has become like the newspaper. And again, if you put your NFT in your Twitter, it becomes your DID, right? So yeah, that's my story, and that's the story of the revolution in the past, and maybe how we can use the past revolution to create a new revolution. Thank you.
All right, we'll open up to some questions, should anybody have any.
Hello, I'm a member of On-Chain Monkey Digital Nation. Very good to hear you. What opportunities do you see in the revolution of consumer protection in international law? Maybe some standards that could make network state and maybe some kind of opportunities to make them in charge to help commoners, to common people, maybe vulnerabilities, females or some guys who don't understand everything in tech, in blockchain, to help them to help them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you want to participate in the revolution, in the big independence, you don't need to understand. You don't need to necessarily understand technology. Everyone can be very helpful. You can be the treasury guy in the Chinatown, help Dr. Sun or whatever. And another very interesting historical similarity I always use is, I think, just like the American Independence War. Right? American independence, that the largest donor is the French king, right, Louis. And people always ask me, what do you think about Hong Kong Web3? I think, oh yeah, I mean, King Louis is pumping the coin, good. So that's my take. I mean, you don't need to worry about your nationality, your skill. You always have a good spot for helping the big pictures. But I think it's always good to learn a little bit about the underlying of technology. You don't get fooled easily. So that's my suggestion. And I think everyone is connected. Doesn't matter where you're from. We are all first generation Siberian, still holding the nation state passport, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Suji.